So talk about, if you can, the writing process. Some writers write a couple pages a day. They say they're done. Some say they write until they just can't think anymore. Some do it different ways. Some write longhand, some by computers. What is your process by which you can write a book a year? And how do you do it? And are you very regimented in the way you do it or very haphazard?
Well, there's no formula to it. I hear people say it's a formula. It's not really a formula. There are a lot of stories. Even though I stopped practicing law, I still am intrigued by the law. I love stories about law firms and big-time flamboyant trial lawyers and litigation and trials and courts and appeals, and that's where I kind of live. That's my area of interest. So I'm always reading, not researching, but just pleasure reading about those issues. And when you when you watch lawyers, the material is endless. Okay, there's just a lot of material and a lot of good stories that I've just got stacked up, and issues. I've just I collect magazine articles and even books about all different types of issues. So there's no so far there's no writer's block. So far the problem is I start a book every year on January the 1st. That's a rule. I've had that for a long time. I make myself start, and toward the end of the year, I start thinking about what's the next book. What's the best idea I have for the next book? And so far there are always several ideas, 2 or 3 ideas, and then I'll pick the best idea on January the 1st, and I'll write 1,000 words a day for 5 days a week for 6 months, with the goal of finishing by July the 1st.
And do you write longhand or computer?
No, I wrote A Time to Kill in longhand, and I wrote half of The Firm in longhand. But this is 1988. By the time I was halfway through The Firm, I bought one of the first generation Olivetti little word processors with a tiny screen. And so I finished the book on a word processor, and now it's all computer.
So I've often wondered, fiction writers, when they start a book, do they really know how it's going to end, or do they kind of make it up as they go along, or do you know exactly what's going to happen at the end when you start?
I have certain rules about writing popular fiction, and one of the rules I'm certain about is I never write the first scene until I know the last scene. John Irving is a hero of mine. I love his books, and we were doing an interview in Toronto a few years ago, and I asked him, I said, is it true that you have said, you write the last sentence before the first sentence? He said, that's true. I'm not that smart, but I know the final scene. I know where it's going. When you write suspense and mystery and thrillers, you better know where you're going. It goes fast. And if you always know the ending, it's hard to get lost.
Okay, so